It is February 26, 2025, and this week the Cincinnati City Council kicked off the budget process and is giving us an opportunity here to talk about leverage support, because during the budget process, one of the big aspects of the budget process is that there's a Congo line of organizations that come forward to City Council and claim their 2 minutes at these budget hearings for money. And they either thank the committee or the council for all the money that they've received, or what often happens is that they thank the council for the money they got last year and make the case for why they need that money plus more this year. And so that, I would suspect, is going to happen in the next two budget hearings. One is going to be Monday night, and then this coming Monday, the 3rd, I believe. And then the other one, I think, is the following week. But that's what you can expect. And what's interesting is that in 2015, the only reference I could find for funding outside groups, of course this was 10 years ago, was a line that called it outside entity funding, and there was a handful of groups that got $1.5 million. Then when you get to 2016, it gets a little more structure, and this was the budget page in 2016 that lists 20 groups receiving $7.7 million. So that's 2016. So 2017, it became 24 recipients getting $8 million. And then in 2018/19, you get 33 recipients getting $10 million. 2021, 37 recipients getting $11 million. And you see the pattern where today we have over 50 groups getting over $20 million. And it's not only what these groups are doing, why are they doing it, why are we giving them money, what do we get out of it? All those questions exist. But one of the things that caught my eye is the table that shows up in the budget for leverage support, and they call it leverage support. It now has 7 different groupings, and then there's a group called City Operations, Programmatic Support and Recipients, and a group called Contracts for City Assets and Programs. But there's 4 columns. One is what the city manager recommended. One is things the mayor has added, and one are things that the council has added, and then the total. So the way the system works is the city has an application process. You can get the application online. It looks like a fairly good application process. There's also a contract online that these recipients have to sign that looks like it has some good provisions for audit access and things like that. It could probably be tightened up a little bit, but the process looks okay if you're going to do this. And it goes to the city manager. The city manager shakes it and bakes it and comes up with their recommendations or her recommendations on which leverage support applicants should be funded. And then, oddly enough, it goes through all this rigor and review and merit process. And then the process allows the mayor to just add more money to any of these recipients, and it lets the council add more money to any of these recipients. And so while we know how the city manager's process works, how does the mayor come to decide to add, in one case, for example, $250,000 to a recipient? And how does the city council decide? Do they have a separate process, or do they just pull the figure out of their hat, or this is something that they agreed to over, dinner with somebody? I have no idea. But it's a very, very strange process. I think it has a lot of risks to it. One risk, of course, is who's overseeing all of this. A lot of this stuff is self-certified by the recipients. So is anybody going out to check to see whether they really rented that storefront and that type of thing? And the other aspect, not counting the growth of this leverage support process over the years, the city also recently established this Achieving Change Together program, Act for Cincy, and that program is designed to help reduce gun violence, but it's basically a program that plans to distribute $2.3 million to another 50 groups, nonprofits. There may be some overlap in there. I haven't done that analysis, but that could be up to 100 different organizations getting these 10,000, 25,000, 100,000 type grants, and who's looking over it? And the answer is probably nobody. I think I saw one audit from the internal audit audit plan that was going to go in and look at one of these recipients, but and that whole internal audit group is something I need to get back to. I did get some responsive records, but it's still, some parts are still outstanding. Anyway, basically what's going on here, all right, is something that's going to get a little wonky. It's called clientelism. That is the best way to look at what all of this leveraged support is all about. And clientelism, in simple terms, is the groups or the recipients know how important the city's money is to their operation, and the politicians know how important their money is to the operation. So they both have a mutual interest here. If the city supports these groups will support the city, namely the elected officials. So clientelism, if you look at Merriam-Webster, clientelism, Merriam-Webster, the clientelism is defined as a political or social system based on the relation of client to patron, with the client giving political or financial support to a patron, parentheses, as in the form of votes, close parentheses, in exchange for some special privilege or benefit. So according to this definition, the patron, of course, is the elected officials of the city council and the mayor, and the clients are 35 in this year, 35 nonprofits looking for money from the city or getting money from the city. So that's Merriam-Webster. And then I also asked artificial intelligence. I think I used a Microsoft's Copilot. And I asked one simple question. It said, and I didn't go fishing around. This was the only question I asked any AI. It says, I asked, what is the definition of clientelism? And this is the answer. Clientelism is a political system where goods or services are exchanged for political support. Essentially, it's a quid pro quo relationship between the politicians, parentheses, the patrons, close parentheses, and voters or groups, parentheses, clients, close parentheses. Politicians or political elites provide benefits to individuals like jobs, grants, or public services in exchange for electoral support or loyalty. It's worth noting, this is AI, it's worth noting that clientelism is often criticized because it can lead to corruption and undermine democratic processes by prioritizing personal loyalty over merit. So if you want to apply that to leverage support, in a nutshell, leverage support, it's almost like the city council and the mayor are buying votes. And as you see the leverage support increase in terms of the funding for those operations. You see the government increase, and it's all very good for a politician. So, when I went back and looked at the budgets over the past 10 years, I don't really recommend that you do that, because it'll get you sick to your stomach to see how spending has grown and the city government has grown. If it's just very, very stark, the growth of government here in Cincinnati, if you just look at the budgets for the last 10 years. And this leverage support is part of what fuels that, is that the more leverage support that goes out the door, and the more groups, the more nonprofits that they reach or that they touch, the more friends they make. So that's what's going on here. And I'm not saying that these groups don't do good work. These groups, in my mind, are like earmarks. And I've always had the position that there are good earmarks and there are some not so good earmarks. And I've seen both. So I'm not weighing in on any particular leverage support organization. I'm just saying the process as a whole is very, very political. It is definitely fits the definition of clientelism, and that's all part of the political process. So we'll see what happens with the budget this year, but my guess is that the number of leverage support groups will grow, and the amount of money that they devote to leverage support will also grow. Let's hope I'm wrong, but that's the way I'm seeing it.